Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. When you hear the word chronically, do you automatically associate it with chronic disease? We all do. It's been programmed right into us. But what if we flip that idea right on its head? Let's discover how we can create chronic health in our bodies, our minds, our finances, our relationships, and our lives. Let's jump right in. I'm Kristy, and this week I am so delighted that we are joined by my dear, wonderful friend, Juliet Clark. Juliet is a 6-time author, speaker, and podcaster who has spent the last 20 years helping authors, coaches, speakers, and small businesses all over the world build expert audiences. She started out as a mystery novelist and is best known for her books Gypsy, Granny Heist, and Dead by Dawn, and Pitchslapped. At age 46, she received a black belt in Taekwondo and is an avid hiker and golfer. Welcome, Juliet.
Thank you for having me.
I was thinking about how long we've known each other. I think we've known each other like about 15 years now.
But probably, yeah. We met in an event and we just kind of gelled from there. So
yeah. So if I had known you were a black belt, I might not have stalked you at that event. No, we have a joke because she spoke on stage and I thought I have to meet her. And there were 1,000 people there. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, there were a lot. Yeah.
I watched where she went and what she was wearing, and I went and found her.
She literally stalked me up the aisle. And by the way, just because I have a black belt doesn't mean I go around like MMAing people all the time. Like it's
Well, I'm grateful for that.
I don't even know if I can do it anymore. It's been like 15 years, but I used to teach Taekwondo as well. I used to teach green belts. So yeah, it's not like I go around beating people up.
That's good. Well, I think it's really wonderful that you're here today to talk to us. Everybody knows that I taught for many years. And when they shut the world down for COVID, which we're not here to talk about that, but I called Juliet and I had been working with her part-time editing books for her publishing company. And I said, I'm done teaching. And we did a lot of books during COVID. And so I thought it would be really cool to talk to you today about for anybody out there who's either thinking of writing a book, has written a book, or their kids are writers. Because writing with kids or for kids is such an amazing and a whole different kind of experience. So, Juliet, when you work with a children's book, let's start with children's book authors. What are some really important things for children's book authors to know?
So I think the first thing that children's authors need to know is you're not selling to the child. There's a lot of misconception around that. And I think that I probably wouldn't have seen that as transparently as I do if I hadn't worked at Mattel Toys. Because when I worked at Mattel, Barbie and Hot Wheels, it was like, you knew that it was on with the Saturday morning cartoons, the ads were, and you were relying on that child to get really excited about it and go to mom and dad. And, I remember we used to joke about, if you've ever had kids, how kids will, I need that Barbie. And, you as a parent are like, well, you might want that Barbie, but you need food, water, education, like you need these other things. So it really is, you want to be able to pique the child's interest, but you have to remember that the parent or the grandparent or aunt, uncle, whoever that is, that they actually have the purchasing power. Mm-hmm. So you do have to keep that in mind when you're marketing that children's book is, it may be cute. It may be everything that you think a child would like, but you have to convince the parents that the child wants it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of my biggest things is making parents, or not parents, people who are writing a children's book understand that writing a picture book for ages like 0 to 3 is a different thing than writing for kids that are like, I've had writers come to me and say, oh, I'm writing it for kids up to age 10. Okay, you can't do that.
Yeah.
They're not developmentally anywhere close.
Yeah, that's true. And here's some things to know about that. When I have to enter a book into the system, when it's a children's book, whether it is a young adult or whether it is like we just did the Granny B's ABCs, you have to identify the age group. They are much stricter about where that book is placed when it comes to children, which is a good thing. So a lot of times what'll happen is somebody will give me a book and I'll run it through one of our AI systems, which I love AI now. It's really streamlined my job. And it's interesting because somebody will tell me, this is for like 5 to 7. And the AI will come back and say, this is 3 to 4. And I think that sometimes people don't realize that our children develop a lot quicker than they used to. Like a lot of kids now know their ABCs by the time they're 3. We're not waiting till kindergarten to do that. These kids need a leg up. So you really do have to do a little bit of focus grouping, maybe with other parents, and let them see it and say, hey, what do you think the age is of this child? Because I find too, a lot of people who write children's books don't have children. And I don't understand that. They'll say something like, oh, my nephew's so cute, I decided I needed to write this cute little train book. And it's like, well, you wrote it too hot, it's for a more advanced age group, or you wrote it into simplistic. And right. I think that's especially true when it comes to young, the teenage books where they're trying to get 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds to read. Is first of all, you can't cuss in the books. You can't make them like adult books. They have to be simpler, intriguing, but simpler stories that age group actually understands. And to be honest, I probably couldn't tell you what the average teenager reads these days, because they all look like little adults to me now.
Oh, well, I think teenagers, young adult category is a really broad. You really want to get your genre down if you're writing fiction for teens, because kids are very clear that I like horror, I like sci-fi, it's got to be funny, I like sports. So you really gotta be really clear on your genre if you're writing for the young adult level.
Yes, no, you do. And the thing about the sci-fi is that I love is the kind of what I call sci-fi geeks. I'm not really much into sci-fi, but those are the kids that are really big on STEM. So can you write it in a way that, because they're pretty, I don't want to call them geeky kids, but these are the kids that are really interested in, how do I get to space? Are there aliens? And so, you really have to write it in an intriguing way, but not over their head. But that's what I was saying about that age group. So am I dealing with the average kid in a science class, or am I writing this for, that kid that's going to college who, is really into STEM and he wants to know about, certain things. So you really have to be so intentional about who you're writing that book for.
Absolutely. And if we can go back a little bit, picture books are, I think I have the most trouble with authors making them understand that, because they think that because the parent will be reading the book to the child, that they can just write it like they talk.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, yes, a child between 0 and 3 is not going to be reading the book. They're not ready for that quite yet. Although some 3-year-olds do read. The kids who read just read. They're just going to read no matter what. So, but they still have to have language that is simple. So it's a deceptively simple thing to write a picture, especially a picture book.
It is. Yeah. And you have to remember, when you get that formatted, if you don't go through a professional publisher, that you have to get that formatted in a way that there are a lot of parents that are just handing an iPad to a kid. I see it all the time where, they need them occupied for a minute, so they'll hand them an iPad. You have to make sure that, that ebook is page by page, is a fixed layout with those illustrations. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're going to have a situation where the verbiage or the words are on one page and the illustrations on another. So you have to be really, really easy with that and understand that. And also, are the graphics in alignment with what you're trying to teach? Because I know we've gotten books where you kind of look at the illustrations. I'm going to give you one. I'm not going to say the name of it, but it was literally, I thought it was the worst, ugliest illustrations I'd ever seen. Like the girl looked like a horse. So you really have to make them so that they are aesthetically pleasing and in alignment with what you're writing as well. So they have to be kind of fun. The girl that looked like a horse, I was like, oh gosh, what do I do with this? And it was a cute book, but it didn't sell much. And I think those graphics were a big part of why it didn't sell.
Absolutely. The first thing that I read this once when I was learning to write and learning about this, is that the first thing people register is the cover, the picture on the cover. The second thing they register is the title. And it happens fast, but it's still if your eye's not caught by the pictures, the words kind of go by the wayside.
Yeah, and you have to remember too that kids that can't read will actually pick up a book, and it's those pictures that they're looking at. And there is that age group, I think it's under a year, that for them the contrast in the pictures, because their eyes are developing, is really important. So you're going to want black on white or yellow on black, something that really has high contrast there. Because those kids aren't so interested in the words and what their parents are reading. They're interested in that, what is pretty, what is aesthetically pleasing, and those developing eyes. So you do have to remember that as well. So splurge on that illustrator. A lot of people have a very small budget for this, and that it has to be cute. So we actually did a book 2 years ago, I think, where one of our clients, very into the environment, and she had a plan, which you do need a plan. Where are you going to sell this? Because if you're just going to plop it up on Amazon or some of those distributors, probably not going to get a lot of visibility. She actually had a great plan where they go to a lot of beach cleanups. She's in Los Angeles, lake cleanups, park cleanups. And so she actually took those books along and sold them to the parents there. But it was a fun little story about some little crusaders, environmental crusaders. And it was a cute, cute little book. And you have to remember that that's what's going to pique interest. You can't get serious with these little kids.
No, you can't. Well, on that note, please, everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
An empowered life has no expiration date. We're all created to do incredible things. Like conquer summits, catch big waves, and live our passions. As time goes on, our bodies begin to show signs that things just aren't as they used to be. Our energy levels decline, sleep patterns shift, and recovery slows. But our bodies are masterpieces of design, holding the potential to bounce back better than ever. With X39, we achieved something remarkable in the field of wellness and regenerative science that others could not. By utilizing LifeWave's unique patented technology, X39 uses light to elevate GHKCU, a copper peptide known to support overall health and wellness. Unlike traditional light therapy, which requires external light sources, X39 uses the body's own infrared light to naturally increase vitality, enhancing the body's flow of natural energy for improvements in strength, stamina, performance, and overall health and well-being. With the simplicity of an affordable, non-invasive, non-transdermal patch. As we age, levels of these life-enhancing elements which are associated with wellness and longevity, begin to decline. LifeWave invested 10 years into stem cell research, which resulted in over 70 patents. X39 was born to bring to the public a product that can support wellness in an entirely new way, supporting the production of younger, healthier cells with wearable light technology. Becoming a powerhouse is easier than you think. Harness your body's natural potential to maintain youthful energy and vitality, because life comes at you fast, but it doesn't have to pass you by. Live long, live well, live young. Be the light with LifeWave X39. LifeWave.
Why do 98% of beauty enthusiasts rave about coolness? It's all in the blend of ancient wisdom and modern science. Introducing Coolness Pearlescent Face and Eye Serum Cream. This powerhouse combines the antioxidative power of schisandra berries, the glow of pearl powder, and the hydrating wonders of dragon's blood extract. It's like a time machine for your skin, making it radiant, firm, and oh so smooth. Inspired by ancient Chinese traditions and backed by modern nutritional science, this serum cream is perfect for dry, mature, and aging skin. Say goodbye to dullness and hello to youthful radiance. And guess what? For a limited time, you get a free cooling eye cream applicator with your purchase. It's time to unlock your inner glow with coolness. So what are you waiting for? Treat your skin to the best of both worlds today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. We are here today with our guest, Juliet Clark, who is the founder of Superbrand Publishing. And Juliet, how long have you been in the publishing business?
Oh, gosh. So I published my first book with a big company in 2008. I saw what a bad business model they had because I came from publishing. And so I started my own company in 2010 with my second book, Gypsy. And from there, I just took what I had learned in traditional publishing combined with, I never hired a formatter before. That wasn't what I did within the organization. And so, yeah, I've been doing it since 2010. Around 2015, we expanded into author platform building because that's where I really started to see that's where the traditional publishers used to do that for you. They stopped doing it. So now as if you were self-published or publishing through a small publisher like me, a small press, you had to have all that in place. So we started building that as well.
So I think that people don't really understand that. I think there's a definite, you write it and they will come idea still out there, even amidst the sea of really terrible books out there that the person didn't edit or didn't illustrate properly or didn't format properly. There's so many things that can go wrong along the line. But the author platform building is the actual number one thing besides writing a really good book. It's the number one thing you need to sell books. Can you kind of tell us what it is and what it entails?
Yes. And by the way, that if you build it, they will come only works for Kevin Costner. And if he builds it, I will.
In the movies.
Yeah, in the movies. Okay, so author platform building is where you start to build the audience for this book. And it's really important because you're not going to get discovered on the platforms. The algorithms are not in your favor. We can get them in your favor in pre-sale with a bestseller campaign. But once your book is released, you fall in with all the other books in those categories. They have reviews, they have sales. So usually it drops with a thud. What you're doing building that audience is what a lot of people don't understand is when you publish a book professionally, which it should be done professionally. I've seen 3 self-published books in the last couple of days that I've oh my God, I could immediately tell they were self-published because they were missing things that would make them look professional. But so that's where you start landing page. You start sort of that digital marketing. You start driving traffic from social media into your email list, because if your social media goes down, or you get blocked. Let's say Mark Zuckerberg doesn't like you anymore because you posted something he doesn't like. You're going to lose that whole audience on social media. So it's really the combination of social media, email marketing, content development. You have to have content development, which can be hard for children's books. It really works well for nonfiction, because the nonfiction, you're probably not going to get ROI directly from those books. So what is your next step with the book that will generate revenue for you? And so that's where that platform comes in as well. If somebody's been following you for a while, all of a sudden you have a $30 book, that's an easy buy. But what do you have to offer them next to cover the ROI of that packaging? I'm going to go back to Sandra's book that I talked about earlier, the ecology book. She actually had a plan for that. The book is up, but she had a little club, an ecology club that was, I think, like $7 a month to go with it. So that's how she was bringing people in, getting more interested in the environment, kids learning about ecology. But it started with that book. So, people would get an invitation from the book if they were on the list. Or I think she actually handed out something when you bought the book at one of those events, like the beach cleanup. There was a bookmarker in it that had more about the club. So if you've got a child really interested, that's how you monetize something like that, is to get the parents interested as well. And if you've got a parent who's dragging a child to a beach cleanup, the parent's pretty interested in ecology too. So that's where that platform building comes in, because it's really where you're going to build the monetization for your book.
Yes. And for all of our audience out there, this Juliet is kind of a brilliant strategist when it comes to building a business, just generally. Besides being a complete expert in having absolute knowledge about the publishing industry, I think you've also helped a lot of people actually build a business, even if it wasn't publishing. Although doing a book can definitely help with that.
Yeah, we get a lot of people that don't understand that when you publish a book, it's a business. That means that you need books. You need an LLC. And I run into that a lot, where we will go to hook up a bank account because you have to get paid for the book. And there'll be a conversation about, because we have to fill out tax forms when we put the book in. So then that's when that conversation comes up about, well, you can't put this in your personal account. This is business money. Like, do you have a business? And you want to keep it separate. And this is going to sound funny, but let's say something happens in the book that somebody sues you over. If you don't have a business entity built up, they're going to sue you personally. And most people have a house and a car, and you don't want to lose all that. So you need to set up that business entity. You need to have a business bank account. You need to have all that detailed, because all of those services that I provide for you or anybody else, those are tax deductible. So there really is a point where you have to have a business entity. And I think one thing that really surprises me or my clients the most is when we have our initial conversation, one of my first questions after I hear about your book is, what are your goals for the book? And I will literally see people like, I've talked to 3 people and nobody asked me that, and I don't know. So, that's where you have to start crafting that strategy, because if you don't have a strategy, that money's probably going to go to waste, and the average indie author sells less than 200 books. So you're probably not going to get that money back.
Right. You got to have a plan. Although I think I've worked on some books, in the nonfiction world, where the authors had a great plan, and they did really, really well with their sales. So
no, they did. Those people who have a plan, you don't necessarily need a team, because we can build a lot of those assets, the landing pages, the drip campaign. We do that on a project basis. If you need to build your LinkedIn platform to get out there and seek more professionals, we help that as well. But we really try to be in tune with, how are you going to monetize this? How do we set you up for success and help you understand? And I think you and I have a mutual client right now. She came into this with a book, a workbook. She had a plan, and she shared with me that last year she was using her book as the basis for her program. She had a very successful program that grossed almost $150,000 just from that. So it wasn't actually selling the book per se that was making her money. It was how she was using that book. So those are some of the things that we really explore, is how can you do this effectively and make money on the backside.
Right. And leverage your book, because you can't depend on the book sales, but you can leverage it in a really powerful way.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people when I'm at events who they'll be on stage. They've arranged a book signing. When you're done, you can Venmo the money, take the, grab the book and have them sign it. And a lot of times they're not selling the book from stage. They're selling a bigger product or service from stage. But, they'll mention, hey, we have this brand new book and we're having a signing at lunch today. So buy the book, come on over. And then they'll pitch a bigger product or service that they're selling that day as well. So that's how you really leverage that quite a bit. And you just have to know how to do it. Now, we started with kids, and I've seen kids do this where your child writes a book. It can be a lot to publish it. And more than likely, you as the parent are going to have to set up those landing pages. You're going to have to drive traffic. And so it's fun for kids to write the books. But, with that, it's as well, if a parent is putting out that kind of money, is this just a gift to your child, or is there a bigger vision behind this that your child wants to do? And I've seen it. I've been at events where, everybody goes and buys the Kindle at the event to push this child to a bestseller list. But I haven't seen much in the way of monetization for children after that.
I think when it comes to children's books, you have to think, obviously fiction and nonfiction you have to think differently anyway. But for children's books, because it's so specific, you have to think differently in marketing terms too. And you can get really creative with it. I've seen people do things like they have, if they're writing a series, they'll have a contest for that, where whoever wins the contest gets to be a character in the next book. Or they do fan fiction kind of thing, where they have to read the book and then they can write fan fiction. Kids, especially teenagers, if you want to get your teenagers writing and reading, they love to post fan fiction, and you can put it right on your website.
They do. You do have to be careful with fan fiction, though, because some of those franchises own the rights. So someone came to me several years ago and they wanted to write a Star Trek book. You can't do that. Simon & Schuster publishes those books. You're violating the copyright. So you do have to be a little bit careful with some of those. But I've also seen kids do like fun projects with them. So, there are a lot of things, but you have to remember with the parents that there's expense to publishing a book. So you have to sit down as a parent while you're encouraging that child and say, is this going to be worth it? Now, with my kids, I tried to get them to write books when they were in high school so we could put it on a college resume. But of course, I'm a little bit different because I'm not going to have the cash outlay for a project like that the normal person would, because, I buy things at wholesale. But that's another way that you can do that as well.
Oh, and so for all the teachers out there, actually, I think what we'll do is we'll come back to this topic after the break, but I'd like to get deeper into actual kids actually writing books. I think that's a very misunderstood and B, very interesting way to engage kids. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to a reimagined world where kids can't wait to go to school, beg for books to read, math is an exciting game, and teachers get to love teaching again. Meet Kristy Boyd Johnson. She's been in the trenches and emerged with the keys to making education a fun, free, and inspiring experience. Email her at barefootlearningclub@gmail.com and chat with her one-on-one. Her philosophy? Foundation plus imagination equals genius.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chronically Healthy Life Show. We're here with Superbrand Publishing founder, Juliet Clark, who is not only a publisher, but a brilliant business strategist. So, Juliet, I don't know if I ever told you this, but during the COVID nonsense, one of the things that I did was I taught writing courses for kids on a certain platform that I'm not going to say the name of, but I did a whole bunch of that. And one of the things I discovered is that kids who want to write, they are crazy creative. Mm-hmm. The things that they come up with just continually astounded me. Didn't we have didn't we publish a 17-year-old? I remember we had a 17-year-old author on our show here. I can't remember if I thought they published with you, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, they didn't publish with me. But that writing like that for kids is fun. I actually have a book that I've had for years. I think when my son was in the 5th grade, they wrote a book. Everybody in the class wrote a story, and they published it and sold it. And so I've got this funky piece of poetry that my son can say he is a published author. But yeah, you can do things like that. You can raise money to, have the book published and the parents can come in and buy it. Here's one of the things that I should talk about is we've had several people approach us about bullying books, and they want to get them in school districts. I cannot stress to you with the bureaucracy, if that's your goal, get the goal, put a prototype together and get it in that way. It's very hard, even if you know somebody in the PTA, if you know somebody, the superintendent, it's very hard because they screen those books to get them in. And you probably know that as a school teacher. There are people who approach you all the time. Hey, can you use my child's book in class? And a lot of times you have to say no. Or, can you use this book that I wrote for bullying? You have to say no because it's not approved by the district. So I think people need to understand that you have a great goal, but your school district is probably not where you're going to get traction on that book.
Right. Now, that said, the one avenue that I have found works is if you donate books to a fundraiser for the school.
Okay.
That will bypass it a little bit because it's free and they can use them as a giveaway, and they'll and then you can get a tax deduction for the books you donated, which does help the bottom line, taxes. And that might get books out in front of people, and then maybe later they might come back if people really like it. But you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Now, I do have an author who is, he has like 3 PhDs, works for Pfizer, not Fiverr. He's a doctor, an MD, and he actually was a poor student in high school. And he wrote a book for high schoolers that tells them how to have discipline, become better students, because obviously somewhere along the line, he became a better student. And he has an interesting strategy. He likes to go into classrooms and talk about that. But he also, because of the way we publish the Kindle, he has the ability to go in and he doesn't do it for money, but he has the ability to change the price of the book. So if he goes in a classroom in a low income community, that he says, if you go over right now, it's $3.99, and it'll be that way for a week. So for those parents who do have the opportunity to write something cool and get it in front of the students, definitely make sure that you have the ability to control that pricing, because like I said, the parents control the price. But when you're looking at something like teenagers, they usually have a little bit of money. And if they're really interested in doing something and doing a book like that, they can usually afford to. It's not like that. It's not like Ben Affleck's son and the $6,000 tennis shoes that we heard about on the news yesterday, which, my gosh, did you see that? Talk about some great parenting. I'm rich, you're broke. I thought that was the most amazing thing. But most of the time, yeah, if it's something that's low cost, the kids will be able to purchase it themselves, the teenage kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I heard about this this really cool thing of where it's a program where they bring kids to animal shelters and the kids read books to the animals in the shelter, and they try, they can walk them and they can pet them and they can feed them and they can kind of, give the animals some engagement because they're poor things are just sitting in a cage waiting to be adopted, But I thought that was a brilliant strategy. And I don't understand why kids who want to read the stories they write can't do that with the animals. I think that's a great idea. Let them.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. But I know a lot of people are really struggling to get kids to read, period, these days. I mean, I remember back when you and I were kids, we would have contests, our teacher, because there was this one girl I was always in competition for the most reading with. And, but I loved mystery novels, like, oh my God, Nancy Drew, all of those. I could read a book a day, and I did sometimes. But it's hard to get children to do that now because there are so many distractions. That's why your book has to be so amazing, because, they've got video games, they've got phones, just everything you can think of now that distract them from actual reading. And I think that's really hurting our kids as well, because I mean, they seem really dumbed down these days.
Well, now we're getting into Barefoot Learning Club territory because, I talk openly about the school system taking away the tools the kids really need to read. And they are intentionally, that's why they donate iPads and Chromebooks to all the schools across the nation, because they want them on their devices. They don't want them actually reading. And they take away the tools they need to read, which is my mission, is to get all that put back, because kids who read are kids who think. And
readers are leaders. It's the same. I mean, when I look back, and I don't know if you know the statistics, but not only are readers leaders, but female athletes. Most of the female athletes who are most of the female CEOs were former athletes. So there's a discipline there. And I bet if you go back to those same people, they're probably readers as well. Because you and I have talked about sitting around swim meets. Like when I was in AAU, we would sit there from 6 a.m. till, sometimes 6 or 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And so I'd sit there and read a book. You can't play all day.
No. It gets really long when you have a long time in between your events and you're just waiting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you and I were both swimmers, athlete swimmers. And whatever sport it is, that's true. Do you remember by any chance how old you were when you started reading?
Oh my gosh, I was probably 4 or 5, because I was with my grandmother babysat us, and there were a lot of older kids there. So they were always reading to me. And then to be honest, I had one of those childhoods that I just read to escape.
Me too. I actually, my mom said my first word was actually book, and that the only time I would cuddle with her is I'd bring her a book and then cuddle her while she read the book, and then I'd make her give me back the book and go away.
I spent a lot of time at the library. I loved the library.
Me too. Yeah. In fact, you know what? I tell parents the number one thing you can do is from day one, even when your child's in the womb, read to them. That is the things the brain power you are developing neurologically when you read to a child, you're developing their their memory, their imagination, their visualization, their auditory processing. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So books are power.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah. And so another really fun thing, you can do this with your kids. It doesn't matter if they're in school or they're at home or they're homeschooling or whatever, but for younger kids, there are programs that I've used in the classroom. One was they were basically a template. They had anything with a 3, like 3 little bears, Goldilocks and the 3 bears, 3 little pigs. There was a Red Riding Hood one. That's not a 3, but still. And it was a template, and the kids would create characters like 3 little octopuses or octopi or something like that. And then they would create the adventure based on following the format of the story. And they put it in, and then they would illustrate it on their iPad. And then they would send it to the teacher, and the teacher probably edited it for spelling and everything. And then they would publish it, and they could send it to the parents.
Oh, how cool.
It's so cool. And then with older kids, we've done it with screenplays where the kids wrote a movie. They worked as a team. They wrote a movie and they filmed it on their iPad, and they all mixed up, whether they were writing or whether they were directing or whether they were acting in somebody else's movie. And they all so they're building teamwork and so their social skills and working together and their creative abilities and bouncing ideas off each other and all this kind of stuff. And then we'd have a movie night. We'd have a movie screening on a Friday or something in the classroom.
Oh, how fun. We used to make clay ashtrays. Like, how much has changed.
Yeah. So the power of reading and writing they're 2 sides of the same coin. They go together so well.
Yeah.
But yeah. I wonder, but when it comes to, for all of you out there who are interested in publishing any kind of a book, talk to Juliet. She knows her stuff.
And there's a little code in the corner you can grab and get on my calendar if you want to talk about it.
Oh yeah, the QR code goes right to.
And I'm pretty brutal. If I don't think that idea will sell, I will tell you, because I don't want to see you waste a bunch of money on something that's not going to sell.
Right. Now with fiction, I don't know if you know this, Juliet, but with kids' books, there is the big young adult category, and that is a big category.
Yeah.
But for the kids who read, no matter what the schools do to them, they're just going to read. They leap right around age 12. They leap to adult novels.
I do believe that, because I remember when I was in the 4th grade, I was already reading at college level. Yeah. And so the books got more, it wasn't just like Nancy Drew. And I think Nancy Drew was actually for a little older kids at that point too. Yeah. But yeah, I started reading bigger novels when I was in high school. I was no longer reading, children's, or they didn't even have a young adult category back there. So you almost had to leap. That's the wonderful thing. You look at people like James Patterson, and there's another author, I can't think of it. He's a really good mystery author off the top of my head, but they're writing young adult novels now. Right. And they have that experience with the adult that they know how to pull these kids in. They're good books. Harlan Coben he writes young adult as well. So these are really great adult authors who are writing, these books for young adults and keeping them sort of away. Because I think a lot of adult books, you have to be careful because, there's sex in them, and there's things that maybe you don't want your teenagers or young, your tween agers reading about yet. So I love that those people have books coming out and, they're age appropriate, but good books.
Right. And again, they're very specific genres, because with teenagers, especially middle school and high school, they are very, very genre specific. They I'm still like this. I hate romance books. I detest them. And yet I know a lot of people love them. I hate them. I don't read them. And when I was in school, I hated it. Even, like Pride and Prejudice, I'm just like,
Yeah, I'm not a big romance fan either. I'm more mystery novels. And I think, like, I know Colleen, what is her last name? She's pretty big. Colleen Hoover. Her books with me are hit and miss because sometimes they're more romance than they are, but I really like mystery spy novels. I do have a 50 Shades of Grey was a romance novel. And I have to tell you, I went to a soccer game, one of my daughter's soccer games, and I was listening to it and watching the game. And all of a sudden I realized that none of the mothers were watching the game. And I literally looked down and I was like, are you all reading 50 Shades of Grey? And they're like, yeah. They were all on their Kindles, but I don't know why. I just thought, yeah, there's something like nobody was clapping. The girls were winning. These two were clapping. And I'm like, something's going on here with the moms.
Yeah. That, that I don't know why that sparked something in my mind, but going back to what we were talking about author platform building, there's a lot of people think if they have a big following on social media, that means that they have an audience. Can you clarify that one?
Yeah, not so much. Literally, you're going to be lucky if 0.25% of your audience buys. I actually have a worksheet that I go over in our first meeting when I meet with you, and I pretty much show you how many books you're going to sell. And no one is really ever happy with that worksheet.
But didn't something happen to one of your clients on MySpace before it went defunct or something?
Oh, okay. That wasn't actually a client. It was a friend of mine who had, and she made some mistakes. She had a huge following on MySpace, over 300,000 followers, and Facebook became really popular. She didn't have an opt-in. She didn't have their emails. They just went and they consumed the magazine every month. She had sponsors that were paying for it. So when everybody jumped off there to go to Facebook, she lost her following and she lost her sponsors.
Yeah.
Because she didn't transition from social media to email.
Yeah, that's why. So for all of you out there who are going to write a book, talk to Juliet, get on her calendar. Speaking of which, we already mentioned, Juliet, the QR code goes right to your calendar, but how else can they find you?
You can go to chatwithjuliet.com, get on my calendar, Juliet@superbrandpublishing.com, or find me over on LinkedIn, Juliet Dillon Clark. And
you also have a free monthly magazine for writers, correct?
We do. Thank you. Breakthrough Author Magazine. You can go to breakthroughauthormagazine.com and you can get a free subscription. It just drops into, we email it out to you every month. And there's lots of platform tips in it. It's platform tips, book marketing, and we get real about publishing. So how do you, we have an article coming up about your backlist. How do you manage your backlist? We're really transparent about what are you going to do next, because you're not going to make a bunch of money from this book.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you so much, Juliet, for joining us today. I always enjoy talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Kristy here for Kids Corner. We've been talking a lot about the kinds of things that have a huge impact on your children, while at the same time making life easier for you as parents. And one of those things that is insanely important is focusing on, it used to be called quality time, but I think it's bigger than that. Doing things with your children consistently, even tiny things like going to the park, or in the summer going to the pool or the beach, or on a trip together. The experiences are the thing that create bonding with your children, create memories, and broaden the learning experience for everybody concerned. And it's really important to remember that you do not have to feel obligated to go spend your, 3 months of your mortgage payment at Disneyland or at some insanely expensive place. That isn't really important. You go do the things that fit in your budget. There are lots of free things in pretty much every community. There are museums, there's libraries, there are parks, there are water parks, there are I can't even imagine, just going up to the snow and playing in it, building snowmen together, having a snowball fight in the winter or in the spring. The kinds of things that walk on the beach or walk in the park or play with the dog in the park, have a picnic. Those kinds of things are the things your kids will remember when they grow up, and they will remember beyond anything else that you were present with them, that you enjoyed them while they were growing up, and they got to enjoy you as their mom and dad. My tip for this week is go and have fun with your kids, even if it's pouring rain outside and you're inside playing board games or watching a movie and eating popcorn together. Just keep it as a fun, light experience and participate with your kids. That's the key to pretty much everything. Okay, ciao for now.
A life empowered is closer than you think. We're all looking for a better way. Reimagine what's next with a new sense of exuberance. Why not power on like you mean it? Or power off blissfully? A better sleep is a better awake. You've never moved like this before. With the energy nature intended. Imagine reprogramming the way you look at the speed of science. At longevity. At exhilaration. It's next level rejuvenation. Take control of your well-being from the inside out and outside in. The light within is ready to ignite. Be the light. LifeWave.
Hello, everyone, again. Please join us next week when we will have identity breakthrough coach Jessica Hammock as our guest. Join us here on Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time. You can watch past episodes at e360tv.com in the Vitality TV network or on our YouTube channel at Chronically Healthy Life. If you'd like to know more about what we do and how we can help you live a chronically healthy life, visit us on our website at chronicallyhealthylife.com. Also, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions about our show or about our Kids Corner, you can comment on our Facebook page, Chronically Healthy Life, or email us at anything@chronicallyhealthylife.com. See you next time.
Hello, we are Mutts and Meows Rescue, a 501c3 nonprofit, foster-based, no-kill group. Mutts and Meows Rescue pulls dogs and cats from surrounding shelters in the greater Houston area. We even pick up dogs and cats abandoned on the streets. Mutts and Meows Rescue is foster-based and rely on your donations to keep rescuing. To know more about us is to know more about our furry friends and help them find their forever homes. Come visit us at Mutts and Meows Rescue on Facebook today and decide how you can make a difference.